Like, I don't want to, I don't know. I see how it could be a good conversation with kids because it relates to them, but I don't want to freak them out either.
I thought the book was really poetic, too. Just the way it was written. It was well written.
Like, where's the love? It kept repeating that phrase.
All I could think of was Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, me too.
That's all I could think of.
I know.
Made me wonder if that song was made before or after that book was written, because it was just like...
Interesting.
Okay. City of Beasts. Yeah? Oh, wait. Which one haven't we talked about? We talked about A Stranger in the Mirror, but we didn't talk about
What's the question for it?
the questions for it. So, it says, how does this book compare to other fantasy genres? A Stranger in the Mirror.
That's kind of interesting. So it wasn't like so much like the what they call it, like high fantasy or anything.
Let's go back to our like definitions of the different ones and see if we can.
So it didn't have.
So there's animal fantasy, no. Toys and objects imbued with life, no. Tiny humans, no.
Maybe.
Imaginary worlds.
Would it be peculiar characters and situations?
Yeah, that's kind of what.
That would be it.
Yeah.
Like Mary Poppins.
Not magical powers.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like what's interesting about fantasy is because it's limitless. It's completely and totally limitless. It is things that are not defined by our like worlds, like confinements. And so, can you even really like? I mean, you can. Like, there's definitely like Toy Story, and that's obviously toys and objects imbued with life, or like tiny humans, like the little, the little, yeah, and I don't know. There's ones that do fit within these confines, but like, is it really necessary that we even give them genres or types because they can be so vastly different?
I mean, maybe it could be helpful to have the different genres just so you can give them like a variety of.
Make sure that you're doing a span of. Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if they're like interested in writing their own fantasy stories and giving them ideas for all sorts of different situations. I could see that would be good too.
So then another question was, how might you use this to discuss fantasy and ageism in your classroom? And this was one that I kind of like ran with because I kind of liked it. So I said I would ask kids how we can learn new lessons through fantasy, and ask them, would this happen in real life, and get them to figure out that like because this wouldn't happen in real life, that's what makes it fantasy. And then also, how does it make us think about a situation differently with a different perspective that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise?
I think as a before reading question too, you could like talk about ageism and like how we view older people, or how you view how they view their older relatives, and then read the book and then talk about it afterwards.
One of the stigmas I think of, and I still am like uncertain on it, is like whether or not old people should be driving. You know how a lot of people are like, and I try not to like talk, like, I don't have a stance on it, so I don't know, but like, you think about some people like that are just like, oh, they should not be on the roads, and then like my grandpa, I really don't think he should be driving, but like.
But I mean, it's situational. Like if you can't see anymore, you probably shouldn't be driving.
Yeah, but it's not only that. There's like, it's like a spectrum. It's not only like, because my grandpa could see.
Yeah.
But he's just not like, he's just not quick. You can't slam on your brakes if you're about to hit someone, or like, I don't know. And so I just think about that, and then I've talked about it with my dad before. My dad's just like, oh, I don't want people telling my dad what he can and can't do and stuff like that.
Did they have to get their license renewed recently? Or
I don't know.
You don't have to
retake the test though.
What they're changing the laws on that though.
Because my grandma just went in and got her license renewed, but she like never drives at all. She always relied on my grandpa to drive.
Yeah.
My grandpa recently got Alzheimer's, so we don't think, like, he didn't even bother to take the test. I think he's kind of like too far gone
Yeah.
to even realize that he misses driving. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but I guess it's situational. Like
Mhm.
there's some older people that are really capable and sharp at an older age, but there's some that can't do it anymore.
And
Yeah.
then what do you do with the in-betweeners that like you're like maybe you shouldn't like
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but that's
I guess that's something that
That's what I think
the
of when I
state
think
has
of,
to decide on.
but is that being ageist?
They should.
I
actually have
think,
contests.
honestly, like that's a safe. I feel like that's a little bit different because it's situational and it's a safety issue.
Yeah, I don't know.
'Cause if you're-
It's like completely like I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Me neither.
I think ageist is like, like treating people like they're stupid because they're
But isn't
old,
that what
even
it's
though
doing? Like,
they're-
oh, you can't
highly
drive.
intelligent.
Telling someone what they cannot do. Does that make sense? Like,
I don't
I know
think
that-
people should not be able to drive because of their age.
Mhm.
I'd
but their
say.
condition.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's known that it's their condition and not their age. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just so.
Sorry.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just.
I mean, I'm sure there's 20-year-olds that shouldn't be driving.
Oh, probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know.
I have friends, and it's just like nail biting every time they get behind the wheel. It's
And
like,
then the handles in the car.
Yeah, I was in a,
Yeah,
I was in a
it's
car
like-
with someone and they ran over the medium and they're like, I'm a horrible driver. And I'm like, can you drop me off? Like,
would you
on
like
the
me to
curb.
take? Would you like to trade?
yeah.
I feel very comfortable with driving.
Can I get out of the car or drive? One of the
Yeah,
two.
it's kind of an odd reality that I think our generation has. Like, I'm a terrible driver, or like, yeah, I mean, it's fine if I like check my phone while I drive because like I can like keep one hand on. I'm like, no, stop.
See,
It's
in that
bad.
case, that's probably texting while driving. I'm sure. Way
80
more
times worse than an
dangerous
80-year-old driving a car. Yeah.
Probably.
Anyway, what haven't we done? City of
December. We
Peace.
can talk about
December.
December.
Oh yeah.
So there weren't any questions for that.
I don't think there was any questions
I
for
didn't see
December.
any.
I didn't see
I
either.
really like how she set up the video and actually showed us how to conduct
A discussion.
discussion.
I thought that was really cool. And I like her.
The little kids were so insightful too.
It's like her
Mhm.
niece and nephew, right?
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Okay. How she had them like doing the mirrors and windows. I thought
Oh,
that was
yeah.
really.
They
Like,
must do that in the.
crazy.
She must have had to give them like some sort of background information about
Yeah.
what that was.
Oh, of course.
Well, and
okay.
I'm talking
Maybe
about
they do it in their class. I'm not sure.
him talking about having a bad day
Yeah.
and giving the money to him
Mhm.
to do something better to make himself like
feel good.
feel good
Mhm.
and not letting his.
It's a good way to
losing
feel
the
good.
game. Yeah.
Like it's not like oh let's go get ice cream. It's like
Yeah.
You're gonna help someone out.
I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so nice. This book, it's such a hard subject. Like,
I can't.
Thinking
It's hard for me
about-
because you can't relate.
a child living in a cardboard box, and
Mhm.
like it's like, I don't know. It's such a hard like that just shouldn't happen, ever. You know.
But it happens.
It does.
I know.
Yeah, but it
a
does,
lot.
so. I don't know. It's
But
like
like, how do you deal with that? Like, if you have someone who's probably homeless or living in the shelters in your classroom and stuff, like.
I think that
You know what I
it's
mean?
like
Like,
it's
that's
definitely a
gonna
walk
be
the
a-
line kind of thing. Like, it, while you may upset them discussing it in class, I think that on the other side of the spectrum or whatever, on the other side, it's like you're opening it up to them that it's something that you can discuss. And it's
Mhm.
something that like if they want to talk about it, they can because they know that those things exist and they know that they're not the only one or they know that
Yeah.
it's not unspoken of or
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
maybe that's a good place to talk about services and different that kind of stuff.
And then it'll help the classmates kind of accept that student too.
If it is out there that they're homeless, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Such a hard.
What was that one part in the story where they're talking about the rose?
Oh, at the end about
I
like,
think.
the
It
rose
was
being
a-
in the picture.
And she was like talking to her.
Oh, about the
and nephew.
angel. So the angel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like
So
represented
he
like growing
thinks
in
that
faith.
the old lady that he gave a kindness to was actually an angel, and she helped them like after that. Because they were kind to her, and it was kind of like one of those. It reminded me of Beauty and the Beast. You know,
I haven't seen it in a long time. Remind me.
okay, so the old lady comes up to the castle and she wants to give a rose for food and shelter, and he turns her away and says she's ugly. Anyways, so
The
that's
Beast
how he
does?
gets cursed. Yeah. But
Oh.
it was really
Yeah.
interesting because it was a rose.
And then they
old
have the
lady.
rose inside the thing, and then
Mm-hmm. That, yeah.
yeah. Okay, now I remember.
And he had to learn humility, and
Yeah. Okay.
and the child. It was like the other side of that. I felt like the child gave something that he worked really hard for to someone who needed it more than he did.
Why do you think they chose the rose out of anything to be symbolic?
That's a good question.
I think it's like it's a symbol of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's, if you think about it, like, you know, you give a rose to someone that you love, and
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't know,
Well,
because it's a beautiful thing. It's
Mhm.
like there's no ugliness in a rose.
a red rose specifically too represents love.
It was like a flower from her hat, right? Is
I
that
thought it was from
her
her jacket.
jacket. Okay.
And she gave it to him, and then he gave her something, an exchange of gifts almost on Christmas.
Yeah. Maybe it could even be like a beautiful thing in like a situation that's not so ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
I love the pictures and the setup of this book too.
The ones that she showed, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
Did you
It was a
guys
pretty book.
go look at the book? So I think they had it in the library.
Oh,
I didn't.
I
I
didn't
just
have a
watched the one
chance to
she
look at
watched
it.
online.
I didn't have a chance to look at it either, but it's like,
I wish I could have seen it more while she was
Mhm.
I looked at it online.
oh, okay.
But
Yeah, maybe I'll have to do that. So the illustrations looked
Looked
cool.
from what
Yeah,
we
they're
saw, they
really-
looked really colorful and
really
really pretty.
fun.
Yeah.
I like the patterns they have
Mhm.
too, like
On the border.
geometrical patterns. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about City of East real quick and then
Right.
call it a day. What do you say?
Sounds good.
I don't really know where to get started on it. I guess it's just a part of the fantasy element this week, huh?
Yeah,
I wish there was some questions for it because it's kind of like a lot
Mhm.
to.
I know.
Maybe
Unravel.
what lessons were taught in it when relating back to City of Beasts
Yeah.
being a fantasy having reality.
Yeah, it was very preachy about like saving the Amazon jungle and like preserving the the indigenous tribes there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was a very resounding message throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I got out of it.
I thought it was kind of a coming of age, too. I mean,
Yeah.
a coming of age through a fantasy kind of setting, and well, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite book.
I kind of wonder there's that new movie out, Beasts in the Wild.
Oh.
That
I
kind
haven't heard
of
of it. I don't even have cable, so I
Yeah.
don't really hear about these things.
Don't mind me. We'll just leave that.
You
alone.
can. Oh, you can.
I was
Feel
just-
free to.
I was
talk
just
about
thinking, it just another kind of coming of age, finding yourself
it. Mhm.
type thing. It seems like, but I think coming of age stories are so important too for
Mhm.
like we had Alice in Wonderland and all those ones where you like grow up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland kind of scared me though.
I don't even remember the
I don't know.
whole
As a
story.
child, like fantasy things really scared me.
Secret Garden terrified me.
Oh,
Wizard of
I went and
Oz
saw that in the
scared me.
theater. Oh really? I loved Wizard of Oz.
The flying monkeys, like those things were so scary. And E.T. really freaked me out too.
No.
He
Kinda creepy.
really freaked me out. So I mean, fantasy just wasn't my it wasn't my jam.
My dad let me watch Alien, and I had nightmares for like 10 years after that.
I don't think I saw that one. My
Sounds
parents
a
caught
good
on quickly
thing.
that I didn't do well with scary movies.
I don't
did
do
not
well.
want to watch them.
I still don't do well with scary movies. I'm like, yeah, no. So
I
that fantasy.
Sorry.
Oh, no, go for it.
Oh, I was